This challenge comes from our friends at the Wildlife Reserve Singapore. It's titled the Animal Behavior Recognition System. And the problem statement is very simple, right? How can we better monitor the animals? In this case, referring to the elephants in this project, thereby equipping zookeepers with real-time behavioral insights, right, to provide the right care for animals at the right time. So it's my great pleasure to invite our friends from Wildlife Reserve Singapore. I believe we have the pleasure of the company of Mr. Ryan Han, Assistant Vice President at WRS. Ryan, are you here with us? I believe he'll be joined by his colleague as well. Claudia, are you here as well? Claudia Tate, Assistant Manager, Animal Welfare at WRS. I believe the two of them will do a tag team to present to you the very interesting challenge. Ryan and Claudia, are you guys ready?
Yes, I am.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I will just start first as to give you all some context on why we are doing this. Then my colleague Claudia, who will be from the life science, then she'll be explaining more in depth about what this problem statement will be. So I'll just give you an overview, broad understanding of why we're doing this. So I'm from Strategy and Innovation Transformation Office, and later my colleague Claudia, she is from the life science team. So why we are doing this, or why we have also participated in the previous rounds of IMDA Open Innovation Platform, it's because in the next 4 to 5 years, we are going to expand our parks bigger. We are going to include, Bird Park will be opening estimated maybe this year or next year. Subsequently, we will have 2 rainforest parks, 2 indoor attractions, 2 resorts. So all this expansion, we are required to have, the ability and capability to do all this tech and, to at the end to improve the well-being of our animals and improve the productivity of our keepers. So a quick snippet or teaser of what is going to come in the next few years. The rainforest parks, we are going to build 2. There will be resorts, there will be this new bird paradise, and so on and so forth. So under this transformation office, we have this open innovation lab where we are managing or looking at all these innovation pilots and also these innovation challenges. The other part of it is that we help to build innovation communities and partnerships through, engaging different startups, tech companies, and then bring them to the correct projects, and then we can accelerate all these innovation projects as soon as possible, or even like in the next few years. So what we have done last year was we participated in OIP Core 10, and there were 2 challenges that we received overwhelmed and very innovative solutions through this platform. We have the Ivory, we have the real-time monitoring systems. But I will not take up your time. I'll let my colleague Claudia from Life Science to go more in depth about what the problem statement is. And if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat. Yep. Over to you, Claudia.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan, and thank you, Billy, as well for the introduction. So just going to share this. Yeah, all right, so there we go. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here to talk about the animal behavior recognition system, and in particular, for Asian elephants at the night safari. So as Ryan said just now, WRS is actually dedicated to the management of world-leading zoological institutions. We have 4 parks, and we'll be adding 1 more as well. And we have over 1,000 species and 15,000 individual animals. But we're going to be concentrating on just 1 species, that's actually the Asian elephant. So just a background information, we actually have done a proof of concept, a POC phase 1, where we developed it together with another partner, and we actually were able to identify 1 particular elephant as part of this first phase. So now we actually want to move on to the second phase, which is why we're here. So the first phase solution was actually using cameras, and then it went through the process of being extracted. The frames were labeled, so they were detected, and then from there we were able to identify Neha. So Neha is actually a young elephant, and she is smaller than the other female elephants that she's with. There's 4 of them altogether. Right, so all this was then pushed to the dashboard where we were able to access the information. Now, these are the cameras that we placed in the back of house area. So this is not in the exhibit, but that's back of house. We have 5 cameras in total where the female elephants are. Unfortunately, there were some issues with phase 1, but that's how all POCs go. That's why it's called POC. So for our first so how we actually identified Neha from the other elephants was using the bounding boxes when drawn. So the length and the height would actually be different for her because she's smaller than the rest. But the other 3 elephants are about the same size. And one day, Neha will grow up to be about the same size as the other elephants as well. So this solution is not possible for the long run. Right, so we identified some gaps. So we found like when the elephants move beyond the camera coverage or it's really, really dark, then the algorithm couldn't pick Neha up. If they're sleeping in a tight cluster, they do like to cuddle sometimes, just like a elephant pile, and then you couldn't identify individuals. Or Neha, when they're hidden behind each other, because she likes to snuggle with her mom sometimes, and then you see like the mom and she's behind, so you can't see her very well. Distorted heights of elephants. Sometimes they don't line up flat, especially Neha as a young elephant. She likes to do a lot of very interesting things, including like she likes to sleep on like curbs, so she's tilted, and then the algorithm couldn't detect that she was actually sleeping. So for this, we were only looking at standing and sleeping, which are 2 behaviors. So we actually want to expand on that. So what's our problem statement? So how can we better monitor the animals? And we want to equip the zookeepers with real-time behavioral insights to provide the right care for the animals at the right time. So how can we do this, right? So what are we looking for? We actually want to have, for this solution, it can either extend on what I talked about phase 1, it can extend beyond that, it can integrate, or even develop something different altogether if it's able to do what we're looking for, right? Which is to monitor and predict the elephant's well-being. So these are the 8 things we're looking for, and the reason why they're different sizes is actually we're trying to tell you what's more important. So of course, the first one is to be able to track the elephants and identify them individually. So for solvers, you can actually propose any form of sensors or data collection methods, as long as it does not stress the animals and does not disrupt their natural behavior, right? So the very important thing is this solution must be able to identify each elephant. So there's 4 females altogether. So you must be able to tell which one is doing that behavior, right? So it's important to note that they must be tracked individually. And do also note that elephants are extremely strong, really big animals. They're very smart. And they also have very dexterous trunk. So if you would like to propose things like certain wearables, maybe like a tag or a collar, the chances of them taking it out is really, really high, because even if you put it somewhere where the elephant cannot reach it with her trunk, the other 3 elephants might take it out. So that's something to note when you're proposing a solution. Also, if you're thinking of doing things like markings on them, they take dirt, they throw it on themselves, they go for mud baths. So all these are quite real considerations when you're trying to think of solutions for this, right? So for this prototype, besides looking at standing and lying, which we looked at in phase 1, additionally, we're also looking for at least 2 other elephant behaviors. So that could be, walking or swaying. Yeah. And it's also ideal if the solution can track other environmental parameters such as sound, humidity, or temperature. Right, so for the IoT monitoring dashboard, it has to be like this one-stop dashboard where the keepers can track, monitor, when they want the information on the elephants, they can go to the dashboard straight away. So you need to consider having a data management module and preferably with the data loaded to an Excel sheet. So all this information can be found in a challenge brief. We're also looking at activity classification, so providing real-time analysis and interpretation of captured behavioral data as well, right? So as I said, you can load this with the previous solution, or it can be your own as well, right? Real-time alerts really important. So if anything is abnormal, the parameters are exceeded, the solution should be able to flag it to the relevant parties immediately. And as I said, elephants really tough. and really strong. And so the solution, whatever it is, has to be robust and ruggedized as well. It has to be modular and scalable, because we, as Ryan said, we don't just work with one animal, we work with many animals. And additionally, it could also help to look at conservation efforts out of WRS as well. Right. And of course, support and maintenance is really important. So we're looking at support at least 3 to 6 months post POC, and I think that secure network transmission is a must. Yep. And so why should you join? Well, besides being able to see and work with really cool elephants, there's a cash prize, of course, and other incentives as well. But I think the elephant one is a big prize. And of course, this is the evaluation criteria that we're looking at. You can see all that in the brief also. And now it's Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Claudia, for a very succinct presentation on your challenge. Okay, I would like to invite questions from the floor. Right now we have one, okay, coming in soon. I'm just gonna take a while to ask a question that I have for Claudia and team. Okay, basically, Claudia, you mentioned that you wanted solution that is very regularized and robust, right? So I understand that last week, right, a lot of people proposed using wearables. So can you please share with us what level of robustness are you looking for if we were to use wearables?
Okay, thank you, Billy. So in terms of wearables, we have tried putting on different kind of devices, or even when one of them, she had some leg issue and then we had to put in like a splint as well. She tore that up in like seconds, really. We put it on and it's out. So they're really strong. And as I said, their trunk, even though they're huge, right, their trunk is very dexterous. So even if it's something small, like they can pick a peanut from a floor. So if your sensor, if you're thinking of something small and put it somewhere on their body, they're quite curious and they'll probably take it out. So a lot of the wearables are quite difficult, honestly, for them, because they will find some way to either break it, take it out, rub it against something. Yeah.
What about the environment? What sort of environment should this solution be prepared to endure? Yeah.
Okay, so for the elephants, well, this picture I think kind of tells you what whatever your solution may be in for. They do go into the water, they go into the mud. They like to take branches and sweep things around. All sorts of things. So that's why it has to be really robust and tough, because it might get wet as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. We're going to move on to questions from the floor. Let's start with this one from Varun. Varun says, would it be possible for us to see the architecture for the POC to understand the elephant behavior again?
So definitely, if the solution is chosen, we will be showing you all the previous work that was done and whether you can be integrated with it. Yeah.
Okay. So Claudia, I believe this also refers to the second question from Jing Yi, and says, do we have sample photos or video feeds from the existing cameras or from the phase 1 trial so that solvers can use it for training, fine-tuning the detection segmentation models? So what do you say to that?
Yep. So if your solution is chosen, we will be able to share with you all the videos because they actually took images of the video. So we will be able to share it with you for machine learning.
I think Billy, can I just add on to this question?
Yes, please,
Hey,
welcome.
Hi, Jing Yi, I think to add on to from Claudia's answer, during the phase 1 that we have done, the cameras are able to identify the elephants, as in, for example, the fall, and also ability to understand their behaviors, meaning when they are standing, lying, and equates to their well-being. But what we are also looking at to push ourselves even further is that this, whether it's video or other parameters, to help to identify individual elephants. That is the challenging part, because elephants, as what Claudia has mentioned, when Niha, which is smaller one, grows, all of them will look alike, like twins are in layman terms, like human being. So how are we able to identify individual? So wearables might be one, but because what Claudia has mentioned, all the other things that they are curious, they might take care of, and certain. So we are looking at maybe adding on from the video on other parts that it can identify individual elephants, which is the tricky part. Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, let's move on to a more technical question right now. From Anonymous, it says, what are the existing network infrastructure available at the elephants enclosure?
Okay, I'll address that. Sorry. So the current existing network structure for POC itself, so we won't talk about production, but just for POC, we will be tapping onto our free in-hub Wi-Fi in that manner. So even our existing cameras that we have done for our first POC, they are actually tapping onto our free Wi-Fi network. Yep. I hope I addressed that question.
Okay, that's a free Wi-Fi. Can give me the password now, Ryan, so I can have. Just kidding. Okay. Next question will be. I think this should be quite an obvious one. Are there any power supply that can be tapped on?
Definitely.
Definitely, yes. Yeah, there'll be power supply. No need to use lightning. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Claudia. Okay, coming up next, we have a question. Let's see. This is are full from Ajit, right? So are full details of the existing POC available, including the analysis of where the POC is lacking or needs to be beefed up?
So we actually covered the previous POC, so we said we identified the gaps. So I think this deck itself will be shared, right? So you can see what issues we had. But I think we can give a bit more details, probably not share everything, but definitely let you all know the difficulties that we faced and what we want to improve on further. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. All right, we have two similar questions from Jingyi and Joel. So I guess the old adage, great minds think alike, does apply today. So basically the question is about how do the zookeepers differentiate between the individual elephants today?
So while working with animals, at first they all seem the same, but after a while you can tell them apart. So for the elephants, the different ways that the keepers normally use, besides behavior, because I understand that it would be much harder to learn, it would be identifying marks that they have. Some are slightly darker, slightly smaller. There are actually quite different points on their body that you can differentiate between elephants. And I think I said before, but I've not done that yet, which is I think there's this forum where you can ask all more questions. So we'll be able to post up this more information as to identifying marks that you can tell elephants apart.
Okay, I think we should entertain this the next question because it comes from I believe it's an animal lover, Edmund. Hi, Edmund. Thank you for the question again. And this is a very interesting question. What are the elephants' names and ages? Pop quiz for Claudia.
So firstly, I admit I don't work directly with the animals. With the elephants, I work with other animals. Yeah, so there are 4 of them altogether. So Neha is the youngest. And then we have 3 others. So we have Tun, Jamila, and Nandong. Right. As for the ages, I know that Jamila is our oldest. She is 43 years old this year. Neha is 5, and the other 2 are in between somewhere, but I think towards the 20s or 30s. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. I suppose we can let the finalists and the winners actually check the IC just to verify the ages and so on. So no worries about that. Okay, I think we have cleared all the burning questions for our. Wait, we have one more question from Mathis. Okay, Mathis, your question is very interesting, so I'm going to allow it. Okay, Mathis is asking, can the elephants be chipped internally under the skin, or is this a big no-no?
Okay, so I think for that, firstly, it depends on the size and also what that thing that you want to put under the skin. So, for example, all our animals, well, most of our animals are microchips, but that's really, really tiny, and it doesn't harm them at all. And I think Dr. Shang is here. He can also answer that. Yeah, but we would prefer solutions where we don't have to inject them. Yeah, so none of that, if possible. Yeah.
Maybe can I also add on? Maybe Billy.
Yes, please. Yeah.
If you have time. Last week there were some tech solvers who asked whether we can have heat sensor like what we have been the shopping malls have been using for the COVID and COVID cases. So there's a possibility, but just be mindful. All our existing cameras that we use to monitor. Do the video analytics and so on and so forth are being positioned very high up so that to prevent the elephants from, because animals, they are curious, once they see something new they will try to go and play with it or tear it off, so it has to be a certain height, quite high up. So if you are thinking of using heat sensor or LiDAR or so on and so forth, just be mindful about the distance too, because I understand some of it it has to be shorter distance. It cannot be too long, but yeah. So something for y'all to, yeah, these are some of the questions that they have been asked. So I was thinking, hey, maybe I can address and share it now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ryan and Claudia, for answering all the burning questions, including those FAQs. This is a very interesting challenge. I think a lot of people are very, very excited about this. So we suspect there'll be a lot of submissions for your business challenge here on the OIP. So thank you very much today for presenting on the WRS challenge. Thank you, and we hope to see you guys soon for next round of our partnership together. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon, Claudia and Ryan. Thank you.